Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, choir. That was such a nice joy. Choir director, Katyani, thank you. Just so nice to sing Swamiji's songs. The purpose of life is for us to figure out how to be happy all of the time, no matter what happens. And one way to really help with that is singing music that has an uplifting consciousness. At the last analysis, everything is consciousness, and it's good for us on the spiritual path to become aware of what is raising our consciousness and what is bringing our consciousness down. This morning, we're going to talk about karma and reincarnation. It's a very important topic for those of us who want to be happy all the time, because we find that there's some forces. Even when we decide I'm going to be happy all of the time, I'm going to think positive thoughts all of the time, I'm going to do good actions, we find that there's some force that just pushes us off to the side, and somehow we're doing that thing again, which we never wanted to do again, or we're yelling at somebody when we decided that we're going to be peaceful, whatever the thing is. So this morning, we're going to talk about these forces, how it all comes together, so that we can learn how to ultimately stand above karma and say, you are the slave, karma. I am master. You do what I say. That might sound very big, but it's true that we will get to that state where we become masters of the universe. And this is all of our destiny. Every single one of us, no matter if last incarnation we were a cow and this is just our first incarnation, eventually we will continue to get better and better karma and we will get there, or if this is our last incarnation. And probably most of us right now, we don't know exactly where we stand on this evolutionary scale, but it really doesn't matter. And I'll get more deeply into that in a moment. Last night I prepared for this class by reading one of Swamiji's books called The Essence of Self-Realization. And I've read that book many times, but last night there was something, I was like, yes, yes, this makes so much sense. And the end result of all of that reading was, okay, I hope I'm prepared to give a talk today, but it went deeper than that. I thought, if everything is action, and the point is to escape all of this, that even by doing good actions, it's not enough in order for us to escape. That what we really want is that karma, which will bring all karma, all action to zero. And all of that studying made me, that's it. I'm putting the book down. I leave this lecture up to you. I'm going to meditate. That it's not enough just to want good karma. That we have to decide that we need to become free from all action, that we want to neutralize it all. And the only way to do that is by learning to meditate, learning to control this energy in our spine via Kriya Yoga, and learning to completely turn off all movement. Where motion ends, God begins. This is very important as we discuss karma, because try it someday to just say, oh, okay, no action's ever really going to work. I'm just going to do nothing. Even if you just try to lie in bed and do nothing, that we're a little bit restless, and give it a few hours, you'll either fall back asleep and wake up and continue the experiment. At some point, you are going to say, I'm hungry. I think I need to get out of bed and eat. And we begin to realize we're a little bit restless. It's not possible just to be still. This goes even deeper, and that is karma simply means action. And we think of it as our physical action, that I'm going outside, I'm walking around, maybe I'm yelling at someone, and then now someone's going to yell at me. But karma goes much deeper than that also, that it's movement, it's action, on the astral plane, our energy. How is our energy moving? And we have to learn to become subtle enough to learn to feel this and know. And then also, karma also applies to thought. That thoughts, they also are vibrating, they are moving, and we have to learn to control them. We have to learn to watch them. We have to learn to have good thoughts. But ultimately, God begins where motion ends, or where motion ends, God begins. that motion also means our thoughts, that we have to completely learn to still our thoughts. There's a song by Swami Kriyananda, still your heart if you want to pray, and then still your mind if you want to pray. And then one of the lines in that song is, still your soul if you want to pray. And then Mother will come, and we await the day. But how do we still our soul? How do we still our mind? That we have to practice Kriya Yoga, and we have to learn to practice it so deeply that we can learn to turn off our physical breath, and then we can completely control the energy. Pranayam means that this energy that's always moving up and down, that's causing us to breathe, that yam really doesn't mean that we can make it move slowly. But once we really have it, it means that we can lift it up here and keep it up here. And then we can begin to concentrate, and we can do the other steps of Patanjali, Pratyahara, really become interiorized, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, and really learn to concentrate. But we have to have our energy up here controlled before we can really learn to concentrate, go deeper and deeper, and completely control our mind. The beautiful thing of all of this is that it's all interrelated, and that we can begin to pick it up by different aspects. But anyways, I hope by the end of this lecture that everyone will want to meditate and not only want good karma. I was in Singapore recently, a very materialistic country. I really love the country. It's nice, it's orderly, and it's just, and I'll get back to order and karma in a second. But very materialistic. And I was having a breakfast actually with a few people, and I said, I wouldn't want to be the most wealthy man on the planet. Think about it. Many people would love that. Oh, I could be the most wealthy person on the planet? Then I could do whatever I want. Stop. Wait. Is that true? If you had all the money in the world, could you really do whatever you want? No. Why? Your karma is going to come in, and it's going to be your karma that makes you do things. And the more desires that we have, the more restless we're going to be. Actually, the more bound we are going to be. But the less desires that we have, that actually is true freedom. And I might say this again in a lecture a few times. But when you start thinking like that, then and we start thinking about action, we start thinking, okay, maybe God's some judge up there and he has all of these laws and these rules, and we want to harmonize ourselves, but where's the law book of God? How do we study that? How do I know if I'm doing right action? And it's very complex. There must be millions of these laws. Master said, no, just memorize one law. Love God. That's it. If we just can think of how do I love God more, naturally then we will be kind to people. Then naturally the universe will reciprocate, and the universe will be kind to us. And so yes, Singapore has a lot of laws, and we want to work in harmony with the law, but it can become very, very easy. You know, this makes me think about, is it bad karma if you're a soldier and if you kill someone? And the answer varies. If you're doing it out of adherence to loyalty to high principles, if you're doing it out of a desire to serve truth and to do the right thing, no, it's actually very good karma. And that people can rise to a high level of heaven by being a soldier who kills someone. Very interesting. But if we kill someone out of anger, out of our own egoic decision and opinion on what is right, then it's very bad karma. And then we can go to low levels of hell in the astral world. So it's not so much only the action, it's also what motivates the action. And we want to put ourselves in harmony with truth, with divine law. Obviously, we want to do good actions. But the more that we're in tune with God, the more this will naturally flow. The more we are in tune with our ego and our own personally driven desires, the more that we will suffer. I say this almost every lecture now, I don't know why, but there's a talk of Rajarsi Janakananda. It's actually Paramahansa Yogananda. I believe they're celebrating his birthday in that talk, I can't remember. But in that talk, Master asks his foremost disciple, he says, please talk a little bit. And that disciple, Rajarsi, says, no. And then he realizes he just contradicted his guru. And so then, oh, yes, okay. And then in that talk, he says, the first thing he says, I have no desire to speak, which is, and that's why he didn't want to talk. He didn't have a desire to speak. And then he says, I hope that I may never have a desire. For if I did, I would suffer. This is an amazing statement. We just gloss by that. Oh, okay, he doesn't have a desire to speak. What a humble human being. Great. But I hope that I may never have a single desire. Well, let's stop right there on that. Most of us, we're filled with all kinds of desires that we see this. Ooh, that would be, oh, my neighbor has that. These desires, they're crowding to get into our system. They're not even waiting in a nice queue like in Singapore. They're just like, I'm going to come in and let's do this and this and that. And we think we're being more alive and that we're really living life the more we go out there and fulfill this desire and that desire. But the more we do that, the more, as Rajarsi said, if I had even one desire, I would suffer. Why? Because we put our happiness outside of ourselves. And if it's out there, we're bound to suffer. Remember this, it's an important teaching that everything has to add up to zero. And I didn't like that teaching in the beginning because it made me think, well, then I should just lie in bed all day and do absolutely nothing. If it all adds up to zero, why even try? We have to try in order to strengthen our will so that we can have a very strong dynamic will that can sit in meditation, and all these desires that are trying to crowd in, that we have the willpower to push them out mentally, astrally with our energy body, and be able to sit very, very still and be able to say, no, I don't want that. No, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is sit here and meditate deeply. Why do we meditate deeply? So that we can love God, so that we can have just that one desire to love God alone. Someone once asked Ananda Moy Ma, but you say have no desires, that desires the enemy. Then isn't desire for God, isn't that also an enemy? Isn't that also a problem? And Anandamoy Ma said, no, no. That one desire to love God is the thing that will free you from all of the other desires. And we have to consciously cultivate that desire for God. That's called devotion. And give that more and more energy, and that will crowd out the rest of all of the other wrong desires. So I hope that I may never have a desire, for if I did, I would suffer. And we are striving to get to this place. Rajarsi honestly was a soul that if he comes back, he will be an avatar, completely free, completely liberated. I'll go into this topic right now. It's important on this, is that for most of us, the goal is not to become an avatar overnight. The goal is to become a Jivan Mukta, which means freed while living. And that means that we overcome our ego. The ego is the post that holds all of these desires together. And when we go out there and we try to calm down this desire, or the way that Swami Kriyananda put it was, it's like washing a dirty shirt in a bucket with an air bubble. You push the air bubble down over here, and then it comes up over here, and you push it down over here, and it comes up over here. Practically speaking, we tell ourselves, I'm definitely going to eat less chocolate for the next month. And maybe we do. We don't eat any chocolate. But somehow we see that our TV watching starts climbing through the roof. And okay, I'm definitely not going to watch, so much TV. But then God knows what other bad habit comes up. And it just seems impossible. And in a way it is, because there will always be something. But if we can go within, if we can go inside and the linchpin, the ego, give the ego back to God and become a Jivan Mukta, we still will have to work out all of these desires. But the thing is, they don't accrue back to us anymore. That once we get rid of that one, it never will have to come back again. And that's the way we reach the level where Rajarsi Janakananda was, where he could say, I hope I may never have one single desire. We cannot do it in a state of ego. That it's like trying to calm the waves on the ocean. That it's not possible unless we're able to get so still that we realize that we are not this self. There's another important thing on karma, which is uh, I want to define willpower, which is will is defined by Paramahansa Yogananda as desire plus energy directed towards fulfillment. And now, why is this important? We need to go through how all of creation is made and kind of how we got into this mess and how we get out, basically. But all of creation first starts as consciousness, and then consciousness vibrates more grossly, becomes thoughts, and then thoughts vibrate more grossly, become astral energy, and that astral energy vibrates more grossly and becomes this physical world. And at the end, we're trying to still all of that. But here's the point. Sometimes a plane may crash, hopefully not often, but it does happen. And sometimes there's just one person who just lives. And then we start thinking, how could it be that that one person had the karma to survive and everyone else had the karma not to survive? And there's individual karma and there's mass karma. And that mass karma sometimes can be stronger than most people's karma on the airplane. But there might be one individual that his karma was stronger even than all of that mass karma. And it doesn't only mean that he might survive the accident. It could mean that he, something happens in his life. He gets a phone call and his father's in the hospital and he decides not to take that flight. And that's all just karma. But the point here is that there's a certain strength to karma, and that karma is operating on an energetic level, on a magnetic level, and that we can strengthen our own aura, we can strengthen our own magnetism to be able to offset mass karma. This is very interesting that animals, they have very little ego, and they are ruled by mass consciousness. And sometimes just watch someone who doesn't have a lot of energy, just, I don't know, doesn't have a lot of energy, let's say, just sitting there watching TV, just subconsciously just kind of being dictated to by outer circumstances how to live life, where it's all going. And then take someone else who has a lot of energy, who refuses to just watch nonsense on TV and is being highly conscious of what's coming into his mind and to his energy field and to his consciousness. And that kind of person will have the ability to be more of an influence on the world around him rather than just let the world around him influence him. The stronger we become spiritually, the more we have this influence to where we get to the point where I was talking about, where we can look down and we can be master of all karma. And if that sounds impossible, it's not. They have that power. And in fact, they have the power to help us. They can look at our karma and they can do a few things with it. One, they can say, I'm a big, strong man. That little karma might hurt you. It won't do much to me. Like a man with a huge bank account who could take his bad son's financial misdeeds and his son, just lost 1 lakh or whatever, but I'll take it, son, don't do that again. The master can do the same thing with our karma. The master, interestingly, also can take our karma, spread it out over a long period of time, or have it just hit us once very quickly, depending on what's the best thing for our situation. Can also move our karma in order to open up windows for us where we can get glimpses of high spiritual states. This is why it's very good to pray before meditating and invite the Master's consciousness into our meditation session so that he can move some karma around. Think about it. Whether you have a good meditation this morning, whether you had, or whether you will have a good meditation this evening, do you think karma plays a factor in that? Of course it does. And so we're not just fighting, how am I doing today? I'm just in control of all of this. We're also fighting, how many times in all of your past lifetimes did you meditate? And meditate well and meditate deeply. All of that's going to add up. And I'm not going to go into it today, but it is the stars that regiments all of that and determines how that works. And it's not just the stars, it's also our chakras, that the chakras are repositories for our karma, depending on what level. And I urge you, open up the Raja Yoga book again, study that, see which chakra corresponds to which planet, And we are right in between. It is the ego that is kind of in between this sounding board of the universe and you could say our karma, our inner karma on the inside. And someone with strong willpower can make the outer circumstances look the way that he wants. But again, without strong willpower, he can't. Coming back to the definition that will is desire plus energy, that we want to make sure our desires are in tune with God's desires. We won't just not have desires. First, have good desires and learn how to meditate deeply, and then we can overcome all desires. Desire plus energy. And then, if we have a tremendous amount of energy, a human being like that can miraculously cure people, can decide, I'm going to change the creation so much, you think you're sick, you're not sick, that I'll tell you, you are well. And suddenly your physical cells change and you are well. That comes through being able to channel a tremendous amount of energy. We will not find God without understanding how this energy flows, how the connection between the cosmic energy and the little ego within us, how that works and how to move it all around. And we should experiment with it. Don't be afraid of any of this. Don't be afraid of who you truly are. And don't be afraid of your past karma either. Whichever it is over. That in theory, we could just let go of all of it. Of course, that's theory, and then there's the practical aspect of it. But I want to go into that theory for a second because it's important. Once someone asked Paramahansa Yogananda, if I just said I'm free, just like that, I wouldn't be, would I? And Master said, well, you answered your own question by saying, I wouldn't be, would I? That you have to wish it, and wish it very well, 100%. If you can get your whole being behind it and realize that you always have been one with God, you always will be one with God, there's nothing that can actually change that, that then you can be free right now. But the subconscious mind comes in. It's all of these, your subconscious mind, by the way, controls your astral energy. And then it activates all of that past karma. And then that comes into our mind and says, but really? I don't feel so free. Are we sure about this? I would be free right now. And then we have to learn how to overcome that subconscious mind. Now, let's come to some reincarnation things. Why did God make reincarnation? So Swamiji asked Master, now wait a second, even when I was a little kid, like maybe 4 years old, I saw an ice cream cone. I thought mentally, I want that ice cream cone. Does that desire have to be fulfilled? I mean, it was just a little one. It was weak. It wasn't some strong, I'm doing affirmations. I want that ice cream cone. I want that ice cream cone. It was just minor, little. Master said, oh, yes, every desire has to be fulfilled. Take time to think it through. That yesterday, how many thoughts did you have? And like sometimes our thoughts aren't so nice. We want to try to hide them. Haridas Ji used to talk about, imagine if there was like a USB stick that you could connect to your brain at the end of the day and then connect it to your laptop or whatever and have a printout of every single thought that you had all day long. And the first time I heard him say that, I thought, oh God, no, I wouldn't want everyone to see my thoughts. That would be so embarrassing. Well, the saints, guess what? You can't hide it. They can see your thoughts anyways. They'll let you have your own privacy. They don't intrude on that, but if they want, they can see it, but they just don't embarrass you. And then the other thing is we have to get to a point where we can control those thoughts. It's a very important part to get to a level where, okay, it's a clean record. All right, who wants to see it? And where do we really want to be with that? We want to be thinking, God, 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 all day long is the goal of that. Anyways, that ice cream cone. So yeah, you think about your printout, right? How many thoughts, how many desires were on there? Then multiply that times 365 days and multiply that times, let's pray we all live to be 100 years old. And how many desires do we have in one incarnation? Now multiply it by the fact Swamiji was giving a lecture in Mumbai and he said, I was reading a book. Some lady talked about she went to some past life regression. She talked about having 40 past lifetimes as a human being. Swami Kriyananda said, yeah, right. Try 40 million incarnations of a human being. So take that 365 times 100 years times 40 million human incarnations times however many desires were on that printout that we just got. It becomes, yeah, it's like, oh, this is and this last night also was why I thought, I need to just go meditate. I mean, it sounds like overwhelming. How are you going like that shirt going to, okay, I'm not going to want this anymore, and now I won't want that. And it's not possible to do it outwardly. The only way is to do it inwardly with God's grace. And it's why I talked about how creation is made: consciousness, thought, energy, and action. Because if we're just trying to control the action, but we don't go to the root source, which is thought and consciousness, we'll never be able to control it. But if we can learn to dive deep enough inside where we can get our printout on that big Word doc from our thoughts from yesterday, where we can get our thoughts all nice and happy and harmonious, and then ultimately bring those to zero as well, then we are in a space where we can become Jivan Muktas and where we can completely control our karma. Now, why does God not let us, if reincarnation is true, why does he not let us see it? And the fact of the matter is, we've all done a lot of bad stuff in the past. Just as an example, maybe some person here for the last 10,000 incarnations was smoking cigarettes. And then in this incarnation, it's, Dwapara Yuga's coming up. People are realizing, smoking cigarettes might make you feel a little relaxed, but it's not so good for the body, and you're not going to live that long, and it's not such a good habit to have. So in this incarnation, you think, I'm going to stop smoking. By the way, if anyone here smokes, don't feel so bad about yourself. Swami Kriyananda used to smoke cigarettes, and he gave that up. It's in the Raja Yoga book. But Swami Kriyananda told a little joke about that. He said, I was just like Mark Twain, that I found that giving up cigarettes was the easiest thing to do in the world. I know, I've done it 1,000 times. That Swamiji would quit and then he'd pick it back up again, but ultimately he did use his willpower, and you can read about that in the Art and Science of Raja Yoga book, about how Swamiji was able to overcome that. But back to the point here, that if you've been doing that for the last 10,000 incarnations and you knew it, you were conscious that you'd been, trying to quit and give up, for you to just think, let's just face it, God, I'm a smoker, and that's just what it's going to be. But if you get a fresh start and you think, okay, in this incarnation, I can become a better person, I'm going to make some changes, and yeah, I kind of smoked a little bit, but it's okay, I feel that I can do it, then you can pick up, use your willpower, your energy, align this desire to have a good desire not to smoke, and by the way, replacing that with something better is good, a desire to want to exercise rather than just living in a vacuum and not letting anything come in there, then something, it's better to consciously choose what you're going to replace that with rather than just leave an open vacuum. Then God knows what will come into that. Anyways, this is why it's hidden from us. There's a book that I really like. It's called The True and Real Story of the Reincarnation of Shanti Devi. I might not have gotten the title exactly right, but you could Google it, find. So there was a lady in Mathura. I'm sorry, she had her first incarnation there. Then she died, maybe in childbirth. I don't remember how she died. Then she was reborn in Delhi, like the Red Fort area, if anyone's familiar with Delhi. And when she was a young girl, she started telling her parents, "Where's my bangles? I'm married." And they would look, our daughter's weird, she's like 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know how old, and saying she's married, this is really, really weird. And then she would say, yeah, my husband, he lives in Mathura, and they just thought their daughter was a little loopy. They didn't know what to do. Children are strange. Then the girl grows up more, starts going to school, and tells her principal these same things. And her principal believed in reincarnation and believed her and said, okay. And basically, his principal went to Mathura, found her husband from last incarnation, and brought him to her house in Chandni Chowk. And he brings this, so the principal brings this man. I don't know what kind of logic this was, but they decided to dress the man up in some disguise or something just to see if it was a true test. Anyways, when the man walks through the door, the little girl says, I forget his name, let's just call him Vivek. She says, Vivek, what are you doing wearing that silly costume? I know it's you. Take that nonsense off. I'm so happy to see you. And then they're all shocked. And then they decide to go back to Mathura with the little girl. It created like pandemonium in the city because the little girl's going around and she's like, "Oh, hi, uncle, da da da," and "Hi, this." And she says, "Oh, I buried like 500 rupees or whatever under this brick or whatever." And they just go and she's just knowing everything. And she meets her mother from the previous life. And her mother from the previous life this is my daughter, and loving. And the two mothers got into such a fight, the mother from past incarnation, that they had to get a lawyer to sort the whole thing out. But the most interesting thing about this story is in that initial meeting when she met her husband from the last incarnation, she said to him, "Did you keep your promise?" And he went, "Oh, but, well, you don't know." And basically, what the promise was, as she was dying, she said, "Promise me you will not remarry. I will come back and I will find you and marry you again." And so he remarried. And so now he's like, And anyways, this story is very interesting because actually, because of that one, it's humorous, but um, you get to see why God hides normally reincarnation from people. There's a story that Swamiji would talk about of a little boy. He started drawing the inside of a cockpit of some World War II airplane. Like everything was perfect, exactly where every little dial and lever and knob and everything. And the parents were like, "We haven't showed him a book of this." You know, the mom was with him every day. He hadn't gone to school yet. There was like, there's no way. And then when they looked it up and saw it was exactly right, they were like, "How is this?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, that I flew and I died. That's how I died." And then he got together all of his old World War II fighter pilot buddies. And when they first came in to all meet him, he thought, "You guys are so old," because he was young and he died when he was like 25 or whatever, and they lived on for the next 40 years. That is a well documented, both of these very well documented instances. These are fun things to explore a little bit. Now, the question becomes, when will I know my past lives? And God will show you these things the less attached we are to this particular body. That when you think I'm this, then God says, "Okay, you be that. It's okay." But He won't show you your past lives. But when you think, "I'm not this, that I'm a soul, that I'm one with you, God, that you are the doer. You're the one who has been doing all of those actions in the past. You're the one who's doing all the actions right now. You're the one who's doing all the actions in the future." And God says, "Okay." And He'll begin to show you little things so that then you can work on things a little bit more and a little bit more. And speaking of reincarnation, we reincarnate with our spiritual family. That when someone like a Paramahansa Yogananda comes down, at that moment, many Jivan Muktas will want, "I'm coming down. He's there. I want to go. He'll help me, number one, work out the remaining karma, and he could guide." It was Master's job to guide many Jivan Muktas, many saints, but then also they feel He's the big boss. Whatever, if he needs help, I willingly go to help him. And then we have all of these saints, and then like ripples that expand out through time. Then other people incarnate. Like for us, then Swamiji incarnated, and then some of us here, met Swamiji. We wanted to be with Swamiji. We all keep incarnating this family so that we can be with our spiritual family that's at our level of vibration. And that's a very important thing. Our spiritual family is much more important than our physical family that we are with in this lifetime. Uh, it may be that we have deep spiritual bonds also with those members. Swami Kriyananda said he chose his physical family in this birth because of his deep spiritual connection with his earthly mother. That he felt they had incarnated many times to help each other find God together. But he said of his father and his, I think, two other brothers, if he never saw them again in the next incarnation, it just didn't matter. They just didn't have those deep, deep bonds. And it's something for us to think about so that we can have gratitude for our spiritual family and these bonds, because we will help each other find God. But the more conscious we are of that, the smoother the process goes. If we just show up to satsang, we just, oh, some guy's there, I don't know, but I want master, and I'm going to go home on my own and practice Hong Sa and find God, it won't work that way. That we cannot love God until we learn how to love other human beings. And if there's even one human being out there that we think, I can't stand that person, then our love for God is not yet perfected. Think about it, because I'm sure we all have that one person out there. But we want to separate that person's actions, his karma, from his soul. And we can always love the pure soul that's inside of there. It's manifesting not quite so properly right now, still has some lessons to learn, but deep inside there is God. And then we can learn to go through life in a very harmonious and peaceful way. You'll find in some families, earthly families and spiritual families, that there's people that just fight and fight. And Master said that's because they were enemies in past lifetimes, and that quality of being enemies, it's a magnet, and it can draw people together as much as love. We can love people very, very much, and that will cause us to incarnate in the same families, or we can hate people, and that will cause us to incarnate. That's a little scary to me. It makes me want to think, all right, whatever is going on the inside here, if there's some strong hatred, time to just clean that up right now and get rid of that karma. And at least from my side, to just have that be pure and just pure love. That makes life much easier to go through. You know, at the end of Swamiji's life, he said when he would go out into the world, that people would just smile at him, that they would just be kind to him. And that's due to all of the incarnations of him smiling at other people, means projecting out kindness and goodness in whatever your way is. That's really an inside job. But Swamiji would project that, and that it started all coming back to him. He could see and know who was friends from past lives. He could see everything. He could see on the spectrum between here, where our ego is, and here, where freedom is, where each person resided as like a general level of how much ego did they have left. He could see, once he was blessing people at a Kriya initiation, he could see all of their karma. And he told at the end Jyotishji and Deviji, I don't know how much details he said, but for example, I could see that this one 2 more lifetimes and would get out, via lots of devotion. I could see 3 more lifetimes and would get out with whatever, lots of Kriya plus devotion, whatever. But he could see all the karma and how it was all working itself out. And please, again, remember that with karma, we don't, yes, strive to have better karma, but we don't want good karma. It's not that we want bad karma. Of course, good karma is better than bad karma. But what we really want, we want out. At least I can say for myself, I've had enough suffering that I don't know how many lifetimes I've lived, but I've definitely had enough suffering. And if there's any way out where there will be no more suffering ever again, sign me up. And I do know that this is the path that we're on. That if we practice Kriya Yoga, if we attune ourselves to the Guru and we have devotion, it's his job to free us, to take us out of this. But we have to willingly cooperate, and we have to understand how this works. It's not like he's going to just come and slap us on the chest and we're not going to know how all of this works, and then suddenly we pop into samadhi and we're free. That we're going to have to willingly cooperate, maybe for many incarnations, and then at some point we will understand. I want to talk about the Indian scriptures, talk about roughly 8 million lakhs. There's Chor Asi, 84, you may have heard of that, 84 lakh incarnations that we live as first like a mineral. Master said he remembered being a diamond, which is really interesting to contemplate. But think about it, eventually these minerals, they get ground up and they're going up into the circulatory system. I'm not a botanist, but however this works, into the plants and feeding the plants and whatever. We eventually become plants, and then we become single-celled organisms and more complex organisms. All of that goes on for 8 million incarnations. And then we reach the human level. Then we mess the whole thing up. Once we become humans and we get free will, we can go left, right, and sideways, and we do all kinds of nonsense. And then after many incarnations of that, we finally say, I've had enough suffering, God. I don't want to do my will anymore, that I want to do your will. And this then is where then we can begin to make great spiritual progress. I want to tell you a story. There was a great guru and the disciples of the ashram. Someone got the courage to ask that guru, how many lifetimes more do I have to live, until I become a Jivan Mukta? And the master said 2 incarnations for you, and then other people got courage, and okay, 3 for you, 5 for you, whatever, 1 for you, whatever it was, okay? And then one man asks, actually, he didn't want to ask, but his friends were like, now's the time, everybody's asking. Ask. All right, so he asks. And the guru says, for you, 1 million more incarnations. The whole audience, oh, nobody dares ask after that. No one wants that bad news. And so that man, he kind of quietly goes out to the patio, and someone then, it's just quiet. They're like, we got to change the topic now. And someone thinks, I'm going to go out there and console him, that poor guy, 1 million incarnations. And so he goes out, and the man who got the bad news, 1 million incarnations, he's dancing, he's happy. And that man then who went to check on him is confused. He comes back inside, whispers, I think he's just mentally lost it, you know? I don't know. Maybe we need to do something as a group. This is bigger than I can handle. So 2 or 3 go out, and finally he's still happy, dancing. So one of them gets the courage, brother, did you hear? 1 million? I said, oh, brothers, yes, yes, no. Did you hear? Did you hear? The guru promised me that he would give me freedom. Brothers, rejoice with me. I have his word. He promised me. I don't care how long it is. All that matters is that he gave his word, that he will free me. And at that moment, the guru comes outside and taps him on the chest and gives him samadhi right then, gives him the freedom. And the guru says this was just a test for all of you to see what it is to be a true disciple who really just wants to do what the guru says and really just loves the guru and has that deep faith and knows that if the guru says, I will take care of you, that you're all good. You're all good. And we want to get that kind of experience, that kind of feeling with the guru. And here's the way to do it, is to take all of your karma and just say, it's not mine. I'm your disciple now. I give it back. And you want me to have 100 more incarnations? All right. You want me to have 1 more incarnation? All right. I give it all back to you, Guruji. This is your show. This is your problem now. All the wrong things that you do, give it back to the Guru. He likes that. Why does he like it? Because you're thinking of him and that you're doing your best. It does work. In the beginning, it feels a little weird. If you do some wrong thing, you think, I didn't do it. You did it. I don't know. You feel a little weird inside. You're like, oh, but I kind of did it. But if you keep going with that, 2 things happen. One, you begin to realize more and more you are not who you think you are, that it is God who's within you. It's God who's listening right now through your ears. But yes, God is listening. It's God who ate breakfast through you in the morning. Don't be afraid to say that, to affirm it. I'm not saying to stand up and say, I am God. That's wrong. But to say, God is eating through me. God is sleeping through me. God is doing, that's right. Don't be afraid to say that. So that's the one thing that will happen. And the second thing that will happen, your relationship will become deeper with the guru. And you will begin to feel that, okay, we are doing it. And I don't want to put the blame on you so much anymore, Guruji, that I love you and I take some responsibility here too. You please give me the strength to overcome this karma. And you begin to work together with his power. And you don't want to disappoint him so much. But don't be afraid. He knows it all. Don't try to hide and think, oh, hopefully he didn't see that one. Of course he did. And it was him, anyways, through you doing it. He just wants, he won't force you to change. He wants you to change from the inside out with your own free will. But we can learn to overcome everything and mix with the saints. Go find the saints. Pray to God. Say, reveal thyself. Show me some saints who know how to do this, who are Jivan Muktas, who know that this is a reality. And God will put these people in your life and then steal their magnetism. It's their job. Once I, in the ashram, was praying to Swami Kriyananda a lot. And then I mentally thought, is this good? If he can read everybody's thoughts, am I not like just supremely bothering him all of the time? And Haridas Ji came to me, maybe I asked him, I don't remember, and he said, no, 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 no. Don't be afraid that you're bothering him. It's his job. It's the saint's job. And he said also, he knows how to tune out thoughts when he doesn't want to hear them and how to receive them. The saints know what they're doing on all of these levels. We must take their help. And then with regarding karma, whatever we have done, we are the ones who did it. Whatever we have done, it can be undone. I see people, they get into, oh, I did this terrible thing, and all the doctors say it's irreversible, and nothing's irreversible. That whatever we did, it can be undone. Understand that, believe that. It puts you in a place of power again, and it puts you in a place of freedom. And yes, we have to do the work to undo all of this. And yes, it's a slow process. It can be. But we can learn to speed it up with Kriya and with the Guru's power. And then just live in their arms. Live with the Gurus. They will get us into that space on the inside. You know, yesterday someone was asking a little bit about our eyes and the spiritual eye. And I went on and on about what kind of lights develop here and what we see and all of this. But what I forgot to say, and what is even more important, as we develop here, and as we see different things or whatever the case may be, we also are having different experiences of different levels of consciousness. And we want to raise our level of consciousness all the way to the point where we stop breathing, where we no longer have ego, where we are one with God. And it's in that moment, it's the only way out that we can get rid of all of this karma. You know, it's said that if we take a dip in the Ganges, that it washes away all of our sins. But Master said, yeah, it's true. But your sins, they hang out in the trees. And as soon as you come back out of the river, they jump back on you again. And so even once we lift our consciousness up to these very high states, it will fall back down again, and we'll have to, again, continue to work things out. But eventually we'll be able to lift it up and keep it up and be one with Master and be one with God. And then we will be free, and then we won't have to suffer ever again. Zero suffering, perfect joy, always irrevocable. Nothing can take it away from us. This is what we want. This is the destiny of all human beings. But as we cooperate more and more with God's grace, we can get there very quickly. So make that your goal in this lifetime, to become free from karma, not from the karma, but you're not there anymore. That if you have the karma for a safe to fall on your head, but you're not there, then it won't get you. And it's the same with your karma. So make it this goal to become a Jivan Mukta in this lifetime and to live in God's infinite joy. Thank you so much. I'll now take questions. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Mm. They're complementary. Master said that only a master knows exactly where that fine line is between our free will and destiny. Because, for example, if it's destined, da 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 da, and then a guru comes and changes it, then it wasn't destined. But could the guru see that it was like this and that he changed it? And that's where that fine line comes, where logic can't do it anymore. I really want to tell this story. I will take other questions, but this story is good. So there was a man who went to an astrologer, got his horoscope, and the astrologer said at age 45 or something, I don't know the exact details, but this is a real story. At age 45, I'm sorry to tell you, you're going to die. The man was like 21 or something and was like super freaked out for a few weeks or maybe a few years, I don't know. But eventually it was like, well, what am I going to do? Go on, live the best I can, be the best person I can, build the best karma in this lifetime. Let's see what happens. So he took that astrological reading, he put it away in some safe or something. And eventually he just kind of forgot about it. Life goes on. So then at age 45, he's in some terrible car accident and it was bad and he got pretty beat up, went to the hospital. And then, but he turned out to be okay. He goes home, opens up that safe. That was the exact day he was supposed to die, according to the first astrologer. So now he's like, why didn't I die? So then he goes to a different astrologer and he says, I have a friend. I want to know about him, so I'm going to give you his birth date and where he was born. Astrologer says, fine. And then, I'm not sure if I'm telling the story right, but it's okay. Then the man the astrologer gives this deal. Here's the deal, is that that man was tricking the astrologer. It wasn't for his friend. It actually was his. So he goes back to the astrologer after 2 days. The astrologer says, sorry to tell you, but your friend is dead. And the man says, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're a bad astrologer because that man actually was me and I was just tricking you. And then the astrologer asks a question, do you have a guru? And this man says, yes, Anandamoy Ma is my guru. And the astrologer says, where Ma begins, astrology ends. The point being that if we have a guru, that they can come in and they change destiny. It's fun to think about these things up to a certain point, but then we have to act. So we may as well act in the right way. But the point, we want to become a master where then we can move the karma around and we can answer that question from an enlightened point of view rather than answering that question from an intellectual point of view. But I can't help myself. Let's go into it intellectually just one more time, which is, the question is, do I have free will? And we put the emphasis on free will. Is it destined? Is it free? But we don't really pick up the question in the right way. Because the real question is, do I, put the emphasis on I, have free will? The more you think of I as an ego, you don't have free will. That is fixed. And no, it's like a trick of God for us to think that we have free will, because it's desires plus the ego like that. It's just absolutely fixed. So it's, do I. If you think of I as I'm an ego, no, you don't have free will. If you think of I as I'm not really I, it's God flowing through me, I. The more you're on that side of the equation, headed towards being a Jivan Mukta, the more you actually have free will and are not dictated by destiny. And you can move things around and do whatever's needed. So that is just another way of saying become a Jivan Mukta in this lifetime. So, yeah. Yes.
So like bad karma also we can't get into Jivan. As well as good karma also won't end up in a Jivan Mukta. So too much of good will also you'll be staying up. Too much of
Hmm.
bad also you'll be staying up. So how will you attain Jivan?
Fascinating question. Master once was in some temple or church or something, and it held like 1,000 members, and it had gold all over the top of this dome. And Master, for one brief second, thought, "Oh, how nice it would be to have such a beautiful temple with such a big congregation." And I believe it was in this moment when Divine Mother said to Master, "To those whom I give too much, like on this material plane, I can't give myself," which is really, really fascinating. It doesn't mean if we have a lot of wealth that, oh God, now God can't come to me. But if we're attached to that, then no, God can't come is the thing of that. But um, generally speaking, it's it will be easier to find God if we have good karma. It's not an absolute law that there was Valmiki, who was the murderer. I don't know how many people here know the story, but he killed people for a living. That was his job. And I'm not going to go through the whole story, but then He met some saints, and in one lifetime, he was able to become highly advanced spiritually. So even if we have terrible karma, it's possible, but it's easier if we have good karma, because that good karma gives us the space to meditate every day, gives us the ability to have other spiritual friends who are going to help uplift us. Strive to have good karma, just don't make that the end goal, that once I have good karma, then I'll be happy, because no, that's not true. So yeah, strive to have good karma. Yes.
So you told if in a reincarnation a soul has done a lot of bad karma, but then also we know that if we attune ourselves to the gurus and we follow the path, we can basically deflect our karma. So isn't it fair, matlab, unfair for like in you do a lot of bad things, you torture people, you do a lot of bad karma, and then you try to attune a lot, and then it vanishes away, or is we have to face that even if we attune ourselves to the.
Even if we attune ourselves, we have to face it. But God will make it not as bad for us. I mean, if we tortured someone, maybe this incarnation we have to go to the dentist more than most people. There's two kinds of, or let me get the joke right. Oh yeah, there's two kinds of suffering in this world, physical and mental. But if it's both, it must be dental. So So yeah, maybe we have to pay it off in a way we don't understand. Why in God's name am I having to go to the dentist so much in this incarnation? But we will have to pay it off. There's just no way around it, unless the guru comes and takes that karma. I'll tell you guys something very interesting on this point. Most Christians believe that Christ died for the sins of the entire world. On some level, it's true, in that Christ often would talk about himself. Sometimes he would refer to himself as the Son of Man, sometimes as the Son of God. When he was in that infinite state, that yes, he could help every single person, but who could he really help? Those who got in tune and opened themselves and wanted that. And Swami Kriyananda told us that he said, if I tried to take on the sins of the entire world, I'd be 6 feet under in a blink of an eye, meaning 6 feet under refers to being buried and dead. Because he said, think about the karma of the entire planet, the entire world, how heavy that is, there can't be one soul that could just handle that. So what Swamiji said was, when Christ was on the cross suffering, that what he was really doing was taking on the karma of his close disciples so that they could become purified, so that then they could reach these high states of consciousness, and then they could carry on his mission. And so, yes, it has to be paid. It's just how. Because, like someone who's wise with finance, if someone's in debt and having a hard time financially, someone who's wise can start to move things around, help pay off loans this way, that way. Someone who's not wise just sits there and just is in pain all the time and is crying, I don't know what to do about this. And the same way with the masters, with our karma, they can move it around, they can be wise with it, but somebody has to pay. It's not like it evaporates, it doesn't vanish. Even Swamiji once, with his colon cancer, told a friend of mine that he didn't exactly say that he was taking on for somebody else, but hinted at it, but said, if it's a physical karma, it has to be paid off in the physical world. He was saying that once I go on to some high astral heaven or wherever he went to, that then I won't be able to do it from there. So, yeah, it's not vanishing. It's that we're getting wiser and learning how to figure it out. Anyway, yeah. Means let's be wise about what we're doing with our actions in the future. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
If many times if I am not building,
Hmm.
thought come to jump.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
So negative thoughts come.
Hmm.
So the thoughts arise because of our old karma and also like environment. Environment
Exactly.
is negative. If I go there, negative thoughts popping up. So I wanted to know more about this.
Well, that's exactly how it works. That we have our individual karma, and then we have the mass karma, the environment. And when those two sync up, yeah, people can do things that normally they wouldn't do. And yes, all thoughts are universally rooted. All we are is like radio transmitters and receivers. And so we want to learn to attune ourselves to higher kind of thoughts, basically. And we want to stay away from negative environments. In the beginning, we think, oh, I'm strong, I'm tough. But as we start to see how subtle this whole thing is, and because not only are we radio, transmitters and receivers, but there's a storage mechanism in here as well. Once I was watching a movie with a brother monk, and a scene came on that wasn't quite appropriate for monks, and he said, "Don't look," and he turned away, and I thought, whatever, like it's just a scene in a movie. But then I started to realize as we sit down in meditation and we're trying to really calm our thoughts and our minds, when we start opening up, our subconscious mind holds every single thought and experience from not only this lifetime, from all of our lifetimes. So we want to be very, very aware what environments we're going into. But now this can freak everybody out. You're like, I don't want to leave my guru bhais even right now. I don't want to go do this and that. That, just do some Om Tat Sat, do japa, listen to Swamiji's music a lot, keep your consciousness uplifted. And here's another thing that one of Master's disciples said is, the first thought that comes in, it's not your fault. So the first one that comes in, it's from environment, but now we get the choice. We can take that, oh yeah, we can spin that around and start fantasizing, once I have this thing and that thing, and then I'm gonna be so happy, and let that go on, for 30 minutes. Or we go, nope, that's not going to work. God, please, you take that right back, thanks. And just let it flow on. Like it's like, often meditators talk about thoughts being a stream and a river, and like you just watch it go by, but you don't grab onto it and hold it. And that's very important, not only when we sit and meditate, but all throughout the day, wherever we are.
He says they recommend for satsang, keeping a good company.
Yes.
I'm a home study student. Where I work, environment, there are people who are like materialistic, money-minded. I'm staying with them. When I'm here, I feel very good.
Yes.
I feel that energy. But once I go back again, it's like draining.
It is, but this is a battle. The Bhagavad Gita is set on a battlefield, and it is a battle, and the real battle is inside of ourselves. But just because we go and we then live in some materialistic environment or whatever, you still have the choice of, will you watch Swami Kriyananda on YouTube or will you watch some violent movie? And even that, the thoughts start coming from everywhere, oh, violent movie would be fun. And if we are in that environment too much, it's hard not to succumb to that. But we just have to do our best and continue to give everything to God and change ourselves from the inside. And then the outside will change more and more. And there's some things in life that we just have to be very stern with, draw boundaries and say, no, I'm not willing to do this. Yes, I am willing to do this. And there's a place for that in life. It's not only just be so nice and accommodating to everybody. Sometimes we just have to say, these are my principles, these are my values, this is what I do, this is what I don't do, and stand up for it. And it's a good thing to do in the long run. Yes.
I know this karma, something, and help us get through this path.
It can, because I'll tell you guys a personal experience I had. We had some long meditation long ago in the monastery, and it was a deep one for me, and I was diving deep. And then this was a literal experience. I had this experience where it was like I transcended time, and I went back to when I was about 5 years old, but I was there. It was like my consciousness, yes, it was in this physical body, but that's not where the awareness was. It was concentrated on, well, same physical body, I guess. I guess it looks a little different than when I was 5 years old. But anyways, the deal was I could feel myself eating Play-Doh, which is basically some little thing that kids play with that you're not supposed to eat. It's like, I don't know what it's made out of, but okay, plasticine. So I'm eating it, like I'm there, I'm having the experience, I'm eating, and I could feel this sense of, yes, I like the desire. I like eating Play-Doh, plasticine. And I was just kind of observing, but I was there inside my body at that point and watching it. And then I felt this desire, the desire to eat Play-Doh. I felt it with a Kriya go, just come up the spine and then burn. And then I felt that I was free from this desire to eat Play-Doh. And it transcended time. And after this, it was really cool in the moment. It was like, whoa, like, I mean, and it was a deep spiritual thing where you kind of transcend time and you see that you're in this space and whatever. But then afterwards, I was thrilled and terrified all at the same time. I was thrilled that Kriya works, that you can take desires and you can, it's like you're experiencing it. And it was a physical desire, and I was there in that physical moment, but I released it because I didn't hold on to it anymore. So that was the thrilling part. Wow, Kriya works. We can just envision, begin to release all of these desires we have, but it also terrified me to no end. It's not like for the next 20 years or whatever, I was going around going, I got this secret desire to eat Play-Doh. I love Play-Doh. When am I going to be able to eat this? And no one's going to know. I'd never thought about it for the next 20 years or whatever it was. I don't know how old I was when I did that meditation. But so then it terrified me. How many little thoughts are inside there? These things that are being held. By the way, you are as great as Ram or Krishna or Jesus or Paramahansa Yogananda. You are that great. The difference is, for them, they have that infinite amount of energy. For us, that infinite amount of energy, it's locked up. There's all of these little vrittis inside where that energy, rather than being able to flow freely and do what is needed to be done, it's locked. And Kriya takes those little vrittis and it releases it. And we need to release these so more and more energy can flow. And this is exactly what Kriya does, is it releases these things. So it definitely works. It definitely, we can hasten the process with Kriya and with God's grace. And it's not just only about Kriya, it's definitely about God's grace as well. Yes. Hmm.
But we know past lives, so many lives, they have done so many things that we don't even remember and we'll be reaping for them. So how we can consciously remember, do we need to consciously remember and bring that to burn it, or will it happen automatically by the grace of?
It will happen automatically by the grace of Guru. But as we start getting into topics now like transcending time, the more that you climb like to the top of a pyramid, the more you can look down and see everything clearly. But when we're at the base of the, like one side of the pyramid, just beginning that ascent, we don't know what's on the other sides. We don't even know exactly what's at the top. It's all kind of confusing. But the higher we climb, the more we'll be able to transcend time, and that transcending time gives us the ability to look down on it all at the same time and see it all. But obviously that's a very high state, but we will become aware, we'll know exactly what's burning and why, what we did to cause it, and exactly how we release it. But I would say for at this stage of our development, including myself, that we just keep practicing Kriya and giving everything that we did in the past to God and everything we will do in the future to God, and keep loving God. As I said earlier, that it seems like, oh my gosh, this is all so complex now. We have all these actions that we've done and there must be laws governing those. And then we have all of the mass karma and all those actions. And how do we fit into this whole thing? And how do we know we're doing the right thing? As long as we just love God and try to give ourselves more and more to God, everything straightens itself out. But it is fascinating that we will be able to know exactly how it all happened. Yes, I'm in here.
I didn't need some try to hurt me or something like I did last time I forgive. This time it is again like this. So I remember the last thing was even though I want to forgive it, it's not that easy. Like how to forgive it.
Sure. There's 2 points to this. One is the spiritual path is not just being a doormat where people just walk all over you and say, oh, I love everybody. Just go ahead, treat me terribly. I don't care. That we have to stand up for, it's not so much for ourselves because we're trying to get rid of ego. So to say, you can't do that to me. I refuse to let you do that to me. That'll bind you more deeply into this whole thing. But if you just say, it's a principle of life that human beings should not treat other human beings like this, and therefore I don't think it's good for you to treat me like this, and so I'm drawing a boundary here, and if you do X, then I'm going to do Y. There's nothing wrong with that. And then the other part, so don't put yourself in a position to be harmed. It's fine to stand up for yourself. There was a lady, disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda, and she had a husband that drank and beat her. And one day she just looked very firmly into his eyes and said, I refuse to let you treat me like this ever again. And I think she walked out on him. But I just remember Master talking about the story, and you can kind of feel that gaze that she gave that was like, I refuse to let you do this to me anymore. Where she found that power of God within herself to stand up for the right thing. Even then, let's take it to that story of her then, but that doesn't mean then after she left or however they broke up or whatever happened, that then she should think, oh, I hate that guy or whatever. That we have to release these things. Why? We suffer more than the person we're hating, and we don't want to suffer anymore. And why did that person do that wrong action? All of his karma, all of the way that he believes the right way to do life is because he's ignorant and doesn't know any better about the proper way to do life. He too will grow up one day. And so we can then live in that space and forgive people and love people. The thing is, every day we have to watch our hearts and just make sure that they're pure and they're clean. And also, we get to a point where we're not this body and we just know we're not. And then we give it to God, whatever He wants to do to it. Okay. But it doesn't mean being irresponsible with this body either, because it is a temple, and we need to treat it wisely so that we can go in the temple in meditation and reunite with God. But one maybe advice, simple, is just keep trying. Don't give up, and we will all get there. Yes.
So I've heard and also experienced our thoughts are our reality.
Hmm.
So would you like to share a few things on it?
They are, but in this realm, everything is slowed down, and it's very good that God made it that way. There's a story, Master called him Hermit Hari, that Hermit Hari went up into the Himalayas in search of God, and one day he found a magic wishing tree that would grant whatever wish that he wanted. So great, I've been searching my whole life for this. Hermit Hari thought, now I can have anything. So he thought, I want a big castle with lots of guards. And poof, there it was. And he thought, and now I want fine food with lots of beautiful servants serving me all of this fine. Poof, there it is. He's eating, enjoying. Afterwards, he goes to his room in this fabulous palace, and he looks and the window's open. He thinks, I have lots of guards out there, but there's no bars on the window. What if a tiger were to come in and just eat me right now? And he forgot he was under the wishing tree. And so a tiger came in and grabbed him and took him away and ate him. We are all under the wishing tree. The wishing tree actually is our will. And God has slowed it all down here so that if we have a negative thought, it doesn't just manifest. The more spiritual we become, the more we'll see that this starts happening. And we really have to control our thoughts. But that's also the more we get control of our energy, it will all come together. But don't think that you can just think lots of negative thoughts over here and then live in the physical world over here, and these two will never match. They're always matched up. It's just there's a delay to it because we're not in control of ourselves yet. So God doesn't want us to completely hurt ourselves like Hermit Hari. So he puts a delay on it. But in time, we need to get to that point where everything's so cleaned up within our minds and that we have enough spiritual force to, if the negative thought comes, it's right out, that we don't entertain it and think how wonderful it would be. This is something I think about for some reason. Right now we're in Dwapara Yuga, where we're learning how to get control of our own energy. We're learning about energy on the outside. And via a control of energy, we will learn to banish the delusion of space. In Treta Yuga, it's a mental age, and many people are telepathic. And could you imagine if it was Treta Yuga right now and all of us had a complete telepathic relationship with one another, and like you could just know all of my thoughts and I could know all of your thoughts. And we're going to need to get to that level as well of cleaning up everything. I don't think it's an absolute necessity in this age for us to become Jivan Muktas, but just generally speaking, that we need that kind of cleanliness mentally on the inside to really reach the heights of spirituality. Just something to think about. Master said, "You don't want to know everybody's thoughts, trust me." One last question and I'll hand it over. Okay, yes.
Karma. Is there a way? Is devotion or love of God enough, or
Devotion and love of God is enough. Saint Teresa of Avila used to levitate, and she didn't have Kriya Yoga. All she had was prayer, and would pray so deeply with enough devotion that then God showed her all of the mysteries of the universe. Love of God is the ultimate thing. However, if we have, a shortcut or a tool that will speed up our devotion and our development, why not use it? But if someone doesn't have that, the absolute final end of it all is love God, and that fixes absolutely everything. Great. Okay, I'll hand it now over to you. Thank you all.